Hi, this is Omar at Top 5 E-Bikes, and this is a full review on the Rattan 750 watt foldable fat tire e-bike. Let me start off with some of the specs of this e-bike. The Rattan 750 watt foldable fat tire e-bike is currently $1,200, but they do have a $50 discount at the moment, so you can actually get this for $1,150. This is a foldable e-bike, like we mentioned. It does come with a 750 watt motor, and that's sustained. Based on the display when we were actually riding this e-bike, it peaked at over 1,000 watts, so that's part of the reason why you feel the power in the motor of this e-bike. It comes with a 48 volt, 13 amp hour battery, so that's 624 watt hours. And for comparison purposes, the Lectric is a 48 volt, 9.6 amp hour battery. It does have a suspension on the front fork and then also on the seat post. Has a cushioned seat on the rear rack. Again, this comes with 4-inch fat tires. There are Tektro mechanical brakes, and it comes with Shimano Acera and a thumb shifter. Additional items are a front and rear integrated lights, and there's also the option to buy racks for this e-bike for an additional $129. All right, so now let's talk about the top 5 things that we like about this bike and the top 5 things we don't. So I'm going to start off with the top 5 things that I like. The first thing I would mention is the motor. So again, this is a 750 watt motor. You can really feel it when you're taking off, and the throttle and the pedal assist. If you've ridden a bike like the Lectric, which is the most popular one in this foldable fat tire category, this motor feels a lot stronger. So you got a pretty nice sized motor, 750 watt. I would say that's the #1 positive about this e-bike. The second thing that I liked about this e-bike was the battery. So it's a 48 volt, 13 amp hour battery. And it's not a huge battery, but again, the most popular e-bike in this category is Lectrix XP, and the Lectrix XP 2.0 has a really similar battery size, except that it's a 9.6 amp hour. So you get a little bit more juice out of this type of battery, out of this battery in the Rattan, than you do with the Lectrix XP. And if that, if the battery size matter and range matters, then this is the type of e-bike that you would probably want relative to the Lectrix XP. So now let's move on to the third thing that I liked about this e-bike, and that's the suspension package. So with most of these e-bikes and most fat tire e-bikes, especially the foldable, if you look at a bike like the Lectrix XP or others, there's usually just a suspension in the front fork, and you see that with the Rattan. So you have a front fork suspension, but then what's really nice about this e-bike, that it came standard with the suspension seat post. And normally I would say that's not a big deal. You can just buy, everyone talks about the Cloud 9 or the Lectrix XP, there's a package where it comes with a suspension seat post, but it was so nice that it came with it. And normally I would say it's not a big deal, but I've been riding the trails. We're here, you can see it's on a dirt trail, and it's so nice to ride on this type of seat. So anyways, I think that this is one of the big pluses of this e-bike. It's just a suspension package, both in the front fork and in the seat post. The fourth thing that I really like about this e-bike is that it comes with a seat, or a cushioned seat, over the rear rack. So I think that's pretty cool. I mean, obviously it doesn't allow you to put anything else on the rack, but you can carry someone. I haven't carried anyone, but it's kind of nice that you have this option, and I really like that about this e-bike. And that it comes standard is the other piece. So it's not like you have to buy this piece. So this is how it comes shipped to you. And then the last thing I really like about this e-bike is the packaging. So they did such a good job packaging this e-bike. At this point, at Top 5 E-Bikes, I think we've unboxed a little bit over 20 e-bikes. And this is the first time we've ever unboxed an e-bike that actually came with spray foam. So the entire box was foam. It was super light, and we were shocked when we opened up the box, because we were not expecting that. Typically you just have them wrapped, and there's some bubble wrap, and maybe there'll be some big pieces of styrofoam in there to secure certain pieces. Well, this bike had spray-on foam in the entire box. And you've probably seen it in some other reviews. We thought that was super cool. Obviously, there were no issues with this bike. There were no scratches on it when we opened it up. It was packaged really well. So if that's something that concerns you, shipping, this bike, Rattan did a really good job in just in the shipping of it. So now that we've told you the 5 things that we like about this e-bike, let me tell you about the 5 things that we don't like about this e-bike. The first one is the battery, and it doesn't have to do with the specs of the battery or the size. It's that when we first got this e-bike, we removed the battery, and then when we tried to put it back in, it got stuck. We were actually meeting up with the freaking shredder. There's a video that he made where he mentioned that we were there with the Rattan and that he couldn't ride it because the battery was stuck. So it got stuck. There's rails in there where the battery's supposed to go in, and it got stuck and we couldn't get it out. I actually was able to get it out with a long screwdriver. It was very frustrating, and I think obviously bad design, because we didn't really do, like, all we did was stick the battery in there and it just happened to go off rail and then it got stuck. So anyways, I think it was super frustrating for us. Really bad initial taste in our mouth over this e-bike. You know, once we got the battery in, it's been a super fun e-bike to ride, but it was just kind of an annoyance to get the battery stuck. It's never happened to us with any other e-bike. The second thing that we don't like is the throttle, and the fact that the throttle is tied to the pedal assist level. So if you're in pedal assist level 1, there's only a certain speed the throttle will go. I think it's 9 miles per hour. And your pedal assist level 2, it's 11 miles per hour. And then once you get to pedal assist level 5, then it actually goes to 20 miles per hour, which is a max on this e-bike. I didn't like that. I thought it was annoying to have to go up pedal assist level. I think it probably would have been better if it was just a responsive throttle, meaning the harder I pull on it, if I go full throttle, then go 20 miles per hour, and if I go half throttle, then it should go 10 miles per hour or 12 or whatever the case is. But I didn't like that design feature of the throttle and that it's tied to pedal assist. It's not the first e-bike that I've been on that has that, but I just thought it was annoying. The third thing I didn't like about this e-bike is the cruise control feature, which interestingly Rattan listed as one of the features of this e-bike. I didn't realize there was cruise control on this e-bike. When I first started riding it, it actually scared me because I was like, why is it stuck? I was like, oh, it's cruise control. So I didn't like that, you know, after I think it's 5 seconds of pulling the throttle, then it just sticks to whatever speed you're going. So I particularly don't like cruise control. I don't use throttle, or definitely not full throttle most of the time I'm riding, so that's probably why I don't like it. But it's just a feature that I didn't appreciate. The fourth thing I didn't like about this e-bike, and part of this was feedback from my wife because she rode this bike, but it's just big. The frame is big, and particularly the handlebars. The minimum height on these handlebars, and this is actually the minimum, what you see right here. Like, we could raise this. So if you're taller, if you're 6'5", this is a perfect bike for you. But if you're 5'5", 5'6", like my wife, probably isn't a good bike, even though they say that it's for someone, it could be for someone that of that height. But I just think that it's too tall, the frame, or at least the geometry of this frame. Maybe something like their other frame, the step-through frame might be better, but the handlebars look like they're the same height. So that's my issue, really, is more of the minimum height of the handlebars. I think is too tall. I would say my last gripe about this bike is that for a bike that's around $1,200, there are some subpar components in my opinion. Like, you have the Shimano 7-speed thumb shifter, which is pretty typical in most e-bikes today. But I feel like if you're trying to differentiate yourself from a bike like the Lectric, which is actually at its base is a little bit cheaper than this bike, then maybe they should have had a trigger shifter or upgraded some of these components. Also, you know, you see that most of this is plastic. Like, you see there's plastic here, the seat cover, even though I said it was a positive, it's also plastic. So I think in general, just the components on this bike are subpar, even though it has a good battery and a good motor. All right, so now that you know the things that we like, the things that we don't like, let's just close this out. The Rattan 750 watt foldable fat tire e-bike is a pretty cool bike that's fun and super comfortable to ride. And if you're looking for a fat tire foldable e-bike in the $1,000 to $1,200 category, then this is a pretty good option, especially when you compare it to the Lectrix XP, which is a top choice, I think, for most people in this category, and even for us. Like, we love the Lectric. But this one has a couple things over the Lectric, and that is that it has a bigger motor, because it's 750 watts, and it has a bigger battery. So those two things, I think, could push you to get a bike like this one over the Lectrix XP. Now, if the battery size and
the motor are not things that could, you know, make you decide on this bike over others in this category, then you could look at some of the other small features, like the fact that you have the rear seat, the fact that it has a suspension seat post. But overall, I think it's a good option. Again, we love the Lectric, but if you were looking for a little bit more power, a little bit more range, then this could be a pretty good option for you. Let us know what you think about this review. If you have any questions about the Rattan or the Lectric, we have a pretty popular review out on that e-bike. And follow us on Instagram, follow us on YouTube, and again, let us know if you have any questions.